so that we develop our reflexes and reaction. Understanding the combat matrix is very important when it comes to knife fighting because, generally speaking, you do not want to get into a knife fight. You want to run away. But if there's no other choice, understanding these principles will help you. And one of those is basically distance, and it's going to be pattern on the footwork. This is going to be one of those things where you kind of see it, but you have to actually train it and train it and train it. Just like your skills drills and with drawing the gun and shooting, it's the same thing. But we have a plethora of them. So it does not end in what I'm going to show you. This is probably just going to scratch the surface very minimum. Alright? First thing we learned in Filipino martial arts or in its knife defense is how to deal with the angles of attack. We usually start with a basic 3 or basic 4 or basic 5. It can be many. If you see an angle on the clock, we usually deal with those angles, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, up to 12 o'clock. With one in the center represents the thrusting, and one up on the left side and on the right side goes for the basic thrust. Okay? So with that said, we're going to show you how to deal with what we call the angles of attack. First, we're going to do the basic 3. We're going to start with a thrust, and then a backhand thrust, and then a forehand thrust. He's going to do the same. Come back here and deal with here. So this is the basic drill. Okay, so with that, what we don't see is the matrix. What I mean by that is when he thrusts, I have to put myself in a safe situation where he is short, but I can touch. Okay, and that is the basic principle. It's hard to see when we're doing the movements fast, but when the thrust comes in, I simply move myself here, and I can touch. And that's very important. Let it pass, thrust. Thrust. That's the main thing. And how we do that is learning how to position the body, right? So when he is, the cool thing about knife defense is it's not like shooting, right? Where you have a line of fire. In this one, when we step off the line of fire, we actually just simply pick a side, off center, on the shoulder, and I can touch. He can still miss, right? Like that. So that's the distance that we play. Okay? So, one more time, we go 1, 2, 3. That's why movement or distance is kind of like similar to the principles of gunfighting. If you can have distance, you can buy yourself time. And this is where the 21-foot rule comes in. Because within 20 feet, if you draw a gun, most likely a good knife fighter can get to you before you even draw and fire. Okay? Which is actually my teacher who was presenting the Okay? So, that's the ABC, understanding that. We drill that a lot. When we start playing, just to kind of like get you moving, is to play tag with it, right? Because knife fighting is essentially a tag game. Right? So if you just play. So that's the kind of play we do, just to kind of train yourself to react to. And again, you will get cut, expect to get cut. But the key is how to survive that. Okay? Now, when that happens, then we start drilling the combination attacks of what we actually can do. So when the first thrust comes up here, that usually happens. Right? So what I do is I cut the bicep, because once I cut that tendon, usually that arm is going to be useless. Right? So cut and check. And then I move. Yeah? So from this side, same, I move it. And you should just thump. Good?
Oh, shit. I was not expecting that. Maybe I should be on that.
Sorry. It can get dangerous. Right? So that's when we start applying all the principles of slicing, countering, and disarming.
Didn't hit anything.
No, I just skyrocketed.
Oh.
And again, the way we do that is based on the principle, because when the thrust comes in, this is gonna be my working space. I know we're familiar with that because when we're manipulating, that's the working space. So if I can catch him off guard there, see? See? I can actually take the set back. Right? So, workspace. Step
Oh,
on
damn.
slip. Wait, that's the way. Yeah. Number 2, same thing. Catch it. Right here. Break.
Sorry, we don't have any padding here for you.
No, I actually brought new pads. I have new pads.
He's like, I was ready for this.
Four Arby's.
I knew this was gonna happen. I'm used to it.
So again, the first defenses that we do is footwork, and then we apply the whole concept of defanging the snake, right? Defanging the snake simply means we have to attack. If we have a weapon, just attack that knife hand, right? So that way he feels the pain, and you can decide whether you want to go, or he decides if he still wants to go on, or just finish it there and walk away your right way. Yeah?
When you did that, did you hit his knife or did you hit his knuckles?
Good point. In training, I'm trying to be nice, so I try to minimize the injury, so I do it here. In reality, that's the thumb, so he can't grip the knife.
Okay.
Yeah? So that's why when you eject it, like that. It's taking it out, I don't want it. So, those are going to be like the principles that we're going to teach, that we're going to present. So it kind of makes it more understandable and doable. Because a lot of times when people see knife, I know, that's going to be impossible. Knife is dangerous, right? You'll never really know until you actually get into that situation, right? But what we give is training drills that will enhance and give them the actual skill, right? We have one drill to give you a basic framework, which is a knife tapping. Again, kind of like going over the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the basic defense for the framework, just to develop the skill and positioning, would be a single tap. So I thrust and I cut. I thrust and I cut. But what he's doing here is he's actually feeding it back towards me. And notice when he blocks, it is the back side of the hand, right? Because most people, like let's say, since I know how to use a knife, if they do block like this, I might fake and just cut that hand. Then that severs the whole thing. You have your main arteries running here, right? These are your flexor muscles and your extensor muscles. If I cut this, you won't be able to pick up a weapon or make a fist. But this, you'll still be fine, and your arteries are protected. So therefore, when he blocks, he goes that way first, and that way. This is very, very basic. Looks boring until I start challenging him. What if sometimes I go like this and fake it?
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Like sometimes I'll just fake him like that. I'm trying to inject the knife into the body. Okay? And then I add a little bit more. Now I start checking because our drill is based on, well, if he's developing a skill, I have developed another skill on top of that. So when I go here, I might start checking his head. But he has to still pick it up. Sometimes I might just switch hands, because that happens as well. And that's the pressure that we give, so that you kind of, you really feel it, and you feel like, you're like, oh. But that's okay, it's better to die here than out there, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, if you notice, understanding how to knife fight bridges it to empty hand version. Because whatever movement that I did earlier on the disarm, so when it comes to here, it's still the same. See? Same thing, same things. Russ, you sure to keep it? Oh, right here.
This poor guy. He signs up to come here on a Monday night just because.
I'm always Suzuki. It's not any different.
So a lot of it is basically trying to fill in the what if. Because every time we teach something, I'm sure like whatever skill it is, you get people like, well, what if this? Well, I'll just do this. Well, we try to answer that. The way we run this modular system programming, let's say, oh, what if that doesn't work? Well, then we do this. What if that doesn't work? Well, we do this. And the great example of that is the disarming module. When we get there, they learn how to basically disarm the basic 12 disarms. So, usually a number. This is the 1 disarm. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. This is 6. This is 7. This is 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And you do that over and over and over, back and forth, until we get it. And then you mix it up. So if I start going like this, now he has to catch one of them. So it becomes a natural reflex. I go 1. He strips. Okay. So there, we give them a little bit more pressure. When we start sparring it in a controlled manner, it comes out the same way. Because a lot of times when we go here, when we do knife to knife, we get into a lot of these positions right here. And this is the hard one. Every time you have to grapple with the weapon, it just elevates the danger even more. Right? So the first thing we do here is we headbutt. We're getting rid of it. That's the easiest one. I step on the shoulder, that's pretty much the same. Right? But then we give them options. There are so many. Okay? First one is I thrust to the hand, and he wants to avoid that. And you get to feel that because it's a sensitivity game, right? So if I thrust him right here, he resists it, and I'll just go like that, and just come back to the same lock, thrust. Okay? You have to feel it. So it's a tossing game. Once if it goes right here, and he tries to thrust to my back, I simply go back to that same position. I can break that, thrust that. Or I can do the same. So the variations right here. I just switch. There's so many. Like these are the stuff that we learn. By the way, I don't teach murder. This is just techniques that I know. So, see? So as you can see, the modules are designed to kind of like progress each and every one of them. So it doesn't matter where they pick it up. They can start with, let's say, module 4 and back, because they are all separate skills that needs to be drilled over and over and over.
Mike, when you do a session, a module,